What's up, guys? I'm back like I never left. In this video, we're going to be talking about Workhorse stock. The CFO recently did an interview, so we're going to go over and see some clips. He gave some fantastic insights on Workhorse, what is going to be the potential for this company for the future, USPS contract update, and also what to look out for the earnings reports coming up. So we're going to watch the clip of that video. I'm also going to be doing a quick stock market recap, and also what are the important economic reports that we need to watch out for tomorrow that can significantly affect the stock market. So make sure you stay tuned. Now let's get right into the video. Before we get into the video, I appreciate if you can hit the like button. If you have any questions, any comments, make sure you drop in the comment section below. So as you can see right here, we have the stock market actually recovered today significantly to the upside. We have the major companies that are reporting earnings today after hours, like Apple, Facebook, Google, Amazon was slightly trading higher, but after hours, after they reported their earnings, Amazon is down. Facebook is also flat. Google trending higher a little bit. They have phenomenal numbers. Amazon also had great numbers. Facebook great numbers. And unfortunately, the overall trend for these companies, even though they beat their earnings report, these stocks are not even going higher. There's some rare companies that have phenomenal numbers that they showed up and they significantly rallied to the upside. But the majority of the companies, even though they beat their earnings reports, they're going down to the downside. So that is a really important thing to look out for if you're somebody that wants to get involved in trade and these earnings reports when they come out in the future. So also the energy sector had a positive day to day. Also financials, the majority of this sector in the stock market, except for the healthcare, was helping the overall stock market to trend higher. But unfortunately, after hours, as I mentioned, these companies were selling out to the downside, so we lost the majority of the gains that we made on the S&P 500. So we'll see what's going to potentially happen for tomorrow. Now let's go over and look at Workhorse stock. As you can see, Workhorse stock has been trending to the downside after a double topped over here around the $30 area, and it's currently slowly trending to the downside. It could potentially go to $15 depending upon how the overall stock market behaves with the elections. We just have to wait for it, but the CFO actually went and did an interview to talk about exactly what to expect for the company, for the earnings and the USPS contract. He gave us some more insights exactly what to expect for deliveries for the future, their drones, and etc. So that was a great, fantastic interview that he did. We're gonna be watching that interview in a bit, but in the short term, the company is really back in the range between $22 and $15. So this is exactly the range that the stock has been trending for the past few months. Stayed within this range for a while now. So we might expect the stock to be in this range also if it can just consolidate when it reaches approximately $15 or $16 area. So now let's check out exactly what the CFO had to say about Workhorse and the future of the company.
Let's talk about this contract that you may be aware of, U.S. Postal Service. This is the contract that you've talked about, investors have talked about. I thought we were going to get some sort of decision from the USPS last week or a couple weeks ago. Now they're saying, I guess, by the end of the year. Can you update us there on what you know about the timeline?
Yeah, I think the post office, the only thing we could talk about is what's public. And the post office, I think, has always said several different times that it'd be by the end of the year. Okay. So I think we'll all just kind of see what happens by the end of the year.
Can you just refresh us on what this deal would mean for Workhorse?
Well, the post office is bidding out 165,000 vehicles, so it's a huge fleet opportunity. And I think from our standpoint, it'd be transforming, right? From a standpoint of just now delivering a few vehicles and getting some revenues in, and we have a backlog of about 1,200 orders. But a post office would be 165,000 vehicles over a certain time period too. So it'd be transforming, be a big opportunity for us.
Yeah. Do you expect when they do award the contract, do you expect to be like the only recipient, the only winners, or do you expect to be one of several, or do you have any expectations there?
I don't think we have expectations one way or the other. It's okay. Again, we can't comment on it. I think it's up to the post office and what they want to do, and at least publicly they said they let everybody know by the end of the year.
Got it. So in the event, hypothetically, that you do get this contract, you would have to produce a lot of trucks, right? Who would be doing that production? Because I know you also have a stake in Lordstown Motors, 10% stake there. So between you and Lordstown, who's actually doing that production there?
I think we have a couple options. We have a Union City, Indiana factory right now that's 265,000 square feet. And that used to do about 60,000 Navistar chassis back in the day. So it certainly has the capacity to do it there. It would maybe need some automation from that standpoint. But I think at the same time, we have Lordstown out there as well as a strategic alliance. And Lordstown's a 6 million square foot facility that could, easily accommodate both C-Series and Post Office if we chose to kind of do subcontract it out of Lordstown. So again, I think we have options.
So is this a situation where, like, let's say you get the contract awarded on a Thursday, and by, like, I guess, how long between the decision and, let's say, you get it, how long between then and production start time is that? Like, can you turn around and just start going?
Well, again, I can't comment on what the post office would want to do. So I think we'll just have to kind of leave it at that. I think you could probably imagine the post office not going to want a vehicle immediately if they award them. So there would be probably a time frame for whoever wanted to award.
Got it. Got it. And then as far as other orders, other things that Workhorse has out there, aside from the contract, last we talked, you had mentioned a couple of big clients and orders based from UPS and DHL. Are there other big orders out there?
Well, we have about 1,200 back orders right now with UPS and DHL. We're certainly talking to a lot of players at this point in time. I expect more orders by the end of the year, but those are the current orders.
And then, best you can tell, how has COVID sort of impacted your order book?
Yeah, it probably just delayed it, like everybody else. It delayed it. We initially wanted to kind of get orders and manufactured and delivered earlier in the year, and we kind of delayed that, 2 or 3 months, and now we're kind of doing it in the last quarter. So I'm assuming at the same time period, it probably actually also delayed our customers from a standpoint of considering, whether they would order this year or later time period. So everybody has had to deal with it. So not just us.
Yeah. And then I had just read, I guess it was last week or sometime earlier in October, a press release announcing a voucher program in New York State for your trucks. And I know you also have one in California. Can you tell us about this voucher program and what other states it could potentially be in?
Right now it's California and New York, and they have they're a little different, obviously, programs, but they have up to 40 to 50,000 per vehicle. That is an opportunity for customers that they're buying that they can apply directly to our purchase price. So it certainly helps speed up orders, I think, from that standpoint in those states. I don't know if other states are considering it right now. There's certainly 13 other states that are kind of under the CARB rules that California uses. So eventually you think maybe those states could also offer vouchers. But there are also states, New York has also thrown out, I think, a $700 million program for infrastructure of actually running building out the infrastructure and running it through the utilities. So I think both from a state perspective and a federal perspective, I think politically things are going in the EV favor of encouraging it as much as possible and getting people to use EVs and buy them.
Yeah. And just speaking of the entire EV industry, what do you make of the fact that the story has been extremely hot, not just with you guys, but there are a lot of other new electric vehicle stocks, investments out there this year. Maybe, Tesla and NIO are, like, if those are the established players, there's a dozen new ones that have come to pass this year. What do you make of the fact that we've been talking about electric vehicles for what seems like forever, but this year specifically, the story has gotten really, really hot?
I think it's both things. I think it's from a consumer standpoint, the consumers are asking for it. We're finding fleet owners that are interested in the cost savings that it provides. And certainly on the passenger side and the pickup truck side too, consumers are asking for it. So I think that's where investors are noting that as well. And that's the new hot sector. So I think they're kind of driving each other, both people now, investors are kind of asking, certain OEMs, why aren't you doing things in the EV sector, and demanding it, and from an environmental standpoint too, because they also invest from a sustainability standpoint. So I think it's driven both by the consumer market and the investment market. From Workhorse's standpoint, I think in comparison to some of the other EV companies out there, I think we look relatively look pretty good from a standpoint of we're actually manufacturing and delivering right now, and some other of the other the companies are really just have maybe chalkboard designs that'll do something in 2022 or 2023. So I think it made us look relatively and relatively pretty good. And not only that, I think we also had kind of the drone opportunity and like you said, possibly a post office opportunity too.
What do you make of the fact that Workhorse's stock has been just so volatile this year? It's gone up, it's gone down. Maybe moves were justified, maybe they weren't, maybe the market got ahead of itself, maybe they didn't. But what do you make of just the volatility of your stock? I imagine you would say, you don't look at it, but it's hard not to, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I obviously we look at it, but I don't know if we know any more than you. I think it's the EV sector overall. I think it's gone up and it's gone down, and so it's good being in a hot sector, but it also is good that we're actually at a stage where things that we've done 2 or 3 years are now kind of paying off, where we're actually manufacturing, delivering, hopefully getting new orders. So I think you try to do the best you can. You try to kind of deliver and execute. And if you execute, then I think at the end of the day, the stock takes care of itself.
It definitely seems like the sector has cooled off a little bit here for the past couple months. Do you think that there was just too much excitement over the summer, that investors got a little bit over their skis?
It's hard to tell. It really is hard to tell. I think it still is the market in the next 10 years. I think people are going to be buying more EVs. And I think that's what investors are looking at. And so I think it certainly is a trend going forward. Day to day or quarter to quarter, stocks kind of go in and out, industries go in and out, and investments kind of go up and down. So it's hard to kind of tell exactly what the investors are looking at sometimes.
Yeah, and you can't necessarily help it
Yeah.
if you get caught up in being in like the new sector, the new industry. You obviously can't control that. The other side of that coin is it also brings about attention from short sellers and people who are just saying this tire industry is just completely ahead of itself and not where investors value it right now. So what do you say to the skeptics out there who say that whether it's you or any other company, in this industry, that electric vehicles is, while a great idea, the valuations of these companies, yours included, are just too high for where they should be right now?
Well, I mean, it's part of the stock market, right? You have shorts out there that want to make that bet sometimes as well, and it's just, I can't tell you whether it's to me, I think it is the way that the industry is going. I think it's where the consumers are going, whether it be fleet customers that we appeal to, last mile delivery, or just consumers overall. So I think it's certainly the way over the next decade. But from quarter to quarter, and whether you're short or long, people are gonna make different bets. I don't know if I can really provide any sort of direction for that.
And now let's talk about the important economic reports that we need to watch out for that can potentially affect the stock market for tomorrow. For Friday, October 30, we got at 8:30 a.m. the personal income is going to be for the period of September. The previous was negative 2.7%, and the forecast is 0.5%. At 8:30 a.m., we got the consumer spending, and it's going to be for the period of September. The previous was 1.0%, and the forecast is 1.1%. And at 8:30 a.m., we got the core inflation. It's going to be for the period of September, and the previous was 0.3%, and the medium forecast is 0.2%. At 8:30 a.m., we also have the employment cost index. It's going to be for Q3. The previous was 0.5%, and the forecast is 0.5%. And also at 10 a.m., we got the consumer sentiment index. It's going to be for the month of October. The previous was 80.4, and they're forecasting 81.2. So if any of these numbers fluctuate up and down, they might have a significant impact on the stock market. But however, as I mentioned earlier, the major tech companies like Amazon, Apple, Google, Facebook, they reported their earnings, and unfortunately they were trending to the downside after hours. So we might expect a continuation to the downside. So expect for that kind of price action to happen in the morning. So if you have any questions, any comments, make sure to drop in the comment section below. If you want to join the Discord chats or sign up for Webull, join the Patreon page, links available. I'll catch you guys on tomorrow's video. Let's get it. Have a wonderful day.